What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another video with Chase Cook Outdoors. Today I want to talk about why I switched from a multi-pin sight to a single pin sight, and I want to talk about what my experience has been using a single pin sight in an actual hunting situation, and kind of talk about the pros and cons of each setup, what I've experienced personally. I know this is going to be a little bit different depending on who you talk to. Everyone's going to have their opinion of what they think is best. Some people tell you single pin's the way to go, a 5-pin or a 5-pin slider, a 3-pin slider. There's a lot of great options out there, and what works for me might not necessarily work for you. But if you are thinking about maybe switching from a multi-pin or a multi-pin slider to a single pin, I will give you my feedback, because although these are awesome, there are some drawbacks to a single pin, just like there's some drawbacks to a multi-pin. So let's talk about it. So I am shooting the Black Gold single pin sight. I shot a multi-pin for years. When I first started hunting, I think I started out with a 5-pin sight. It was fixed, so I started at 30 yards, so 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So if you can shoot out to 70 yards with any sight in a real life hunting situation, usually that's plenty. You're not gonna need much more than 70 yards unless you have a perfect shot at a deer or an elk. There's hardly any wind, you've got a clear lane, and you're comfortable shooting at 70 yards, then take the shot. But for me, the longest shot that I've taken an elk was at 75 yards. That was 2 years ago. I shot a spike. I was with my wife, and I was really glad that I had a slider pin for that, because 75 yards is a long shot. Luckily, he was quartered away. I made a great shot, arrow buried deep into his chest cavity, and I don't think he made it more than 100 yards. But here's what's been my experience and why I like a single pin sight, but also the cons to it. So first off, single pin sight. It is completely open, and that's probably one of the biggest benefits that I like about this, is no matter what yardage you're shooting at, even if you don't dial it right to the yardage you want. Let's say you're shooting at something that's 40 yards away and your pin is set to 30, you're gonna aim a little bit high. I still like the fact that I only have one pin that I'm looking at, so the entire scope is just completely open. The housing is clear, I can put my pin. It's just easier for me, I feel like, to put my pin exactly where I wanna hit. With the multi-pin sight, there's 7-pin sights out there, and for me, 5 pins was just too busy. I was looking through, and I feel like you just can't get like a clear view of what you're looking at, and I don't feel like you can really dial in and get your pin exactly where you want it. And so for that reason, I wanted to switch to a single pin, or at least try it out. So I had a 5-pin slider sight, and then I switched to a single pin, and I was really happy I did. I've loved, I shoot a ton year round just for fun. So I just love being able to dial my pin to the exact yardage. I'm never saying, okay, I'm gonna shoot high, or I'm gonna shoot low. I can just put my pin right where I wanna shoot and go. It's awesome, especially for, like the Total Archery Challenge that they do here in Park City. It's amazing for that, because I'm not trying to shoot a little bit high or shoot a little bit low. I'm never guessing. I'm not shooting, stacking pins. I just put my pin right where I want it. I love that. It is so much fun. But let's talk about hunting situations, because that's really what we're all after, right? In a hunting situation, it's been awesome in a few situations, and it's bit me in a couple others. I just talked about how a couple years ago I shot that spike. I shot him at 75 yards. And when I first ranged him, as he was walking in, where he stopped, I thought he was about 45. So I had my pin set to 40. I aimed a little high, but not high enough, because I shot a little bit low, and I hit him actually just above the elbow joint. If it had been about 6 inches higher, probably a hard shot. Hit him a little bit low. He ran off. He stopped at like 75 yards. I ranged him again, dialed my pin down, pulled back, smoked him. So that's why, any slider pin for that specific reason is awesome, because of those longer yardages. You can dial it exactly to where you need it to be. But here's where I've had issues with the single pin slider. I think 3 or 4 years ago, I was just, spike cow hunting for elk, and I had a cow that was at 40 yards. And the cow ran off, and it saw me, and it ran off to about, probably around 65 yards. And she ran far enough that I wasn't comfortable just assuming, okay, she's at 55 or 60. Like, I knew I had to, range the cow again. And my buddy was with me, and he said she's at 62 yards. Well, I was too afraid that if I was gonna let down and then have to, dial my pin back in, that by the time I did that and then drew back again, the cow was gonna split. I wasn't gonna have a shot. So I just put my my pin right on the top of the cow's back. I shot, and I shot over the back. So that was a time when having a single pin bit me. Had I had a multi-pin sight, I would have had a 60-yard pin, and my friend tells me, hey, 62 yards, I can just take my 60 pin and basically put it almost dead on, and I'm gonna have a kill shot. So that was one instance where this did bite me. Now, what I've done since then, and I hadn't done this yet, and I don't know why I didn't, but, and a lot of guys know this trick, what you can do is on your single pin, if you're looking through that, you can actually just make little markings on that pin. So when I hunt now, what I do is I always have my pin set to 30, and then I'll have a little mark for 40, 50, and 60 on my pin. And it's actually pretty nice. It's actually pretty consistent. I will practice with those little dots on there just to make sure that, you know, I feel confident doing that. So now in that same situation, if it goes to 62 yards or 65, whatever it might be, I don't have to sit there and dial my pin if I don't want to. If I have time and I can range something and I can dial my pin, I'm gonna do it every single time because that's gonna give me a more accurate shot. It's gonna make me more confident. So yeah, that's kind of been my experience with the single pin. I love it for just shooting for fun because I can just put my pin exactly where I want it to be. I can aim. I love how open the housing is. It gives me a really clear window. Just, you know, I don't see any blurriness when I'm looking at pins. That's kind of another reason that I want to switch to a single pin is for whatever reason with my eyesight, I kind of had a hard time not having the pins sometimes just basically all blending together into one, and I couldn't really get a clear picture of each individual pin. Reds were really hard for me to see too. Even orange, green was always the best color that I could see. So I would honestly take my multi-pin sight when I had it and I swapped out all the pins for green. And so I just had to remember, okay, that's my 30, that's my 40, that's my 50 pin. But anyway, I love a single pin sight. I don't plan to go back to a multi-pin sight. If I ever did, I would do like a 3-pin slider. I would do like 30, 40, 50, and then I would slide from there. But single pin's been awesome just because I shoot for fun all the time. For hunting situations, like I said, it has bit me once, but I learned my lesson. I put those little marks on my pin, but that wasn't a big enough reason for me to get rid of this. But I want to hear your feedback. What do you guys think? What do you shoot? Do you have a multi-pin, a fixed sight, a slider sight? Do you have a single pin? Has it bit you a couple of times? Are you gonna go back to a multi-pin sight? Anyway, that's my experience. If you're thinking about getting a single pin sight, I love it. I think there's pros and cons to a fixed sight. Obviously, you're gonna have only a certain max yardage that you can shoot out to. In a hunting situation, that might be fine. If you're only comfortable shooting to 70 yards anyway, and that's what your last pin is, you got nothing to worry about. But if you want a slider sight, you can shoot out to longer yardages, especially for just fun when you're shooting out back, whatever it might be. But anyway, give a single pin a try if you haven't already. I like it, and those are my reasons why. So if you're thinking about trying one, you got nothing to lose. But leave your comments, your questions below. I'm more than happy to give some more feedback on my experience. And like I said, just share your experience and what have you felt shooting a single pin. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. Anyway, thanks again, Chase Cook Outdoors. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'm new, but I've got a lot more great content that I want to be putting out there. So if you like it, get subscribed. Thanks for watching.